Hi, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guide. Now, joining me today in the studio is Misha Rubin, who is an entrepreneur and a career educator. Welcome, Misha.
Hi, Peter. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you.
So, Misha, what is a career educator?
Well, what I do, I fill this gap that we have in the society. We are taught millions and zillions of things through our lifetime, but nobody teaches us how to look for meaningful, fulfilling careers that work for our life. And in the past, if you think about, people had one career, or they went to college to have one career in their lifetime. And I think right now we live at the time that's very unlikely that a person will have only one career. It's more likely than not people will have more than one career, or they might become entrepreneurs at some point, or they try different things, or maybe some careers just disappear or become irrelevant. So we live at these times when understanding how to do this becomes increasingly important.
I mean, that's interesting you say that, because actually we're probably living in a time where people are experiencing all of those things. Companies that we thought would be around forever have disappeared. So the lifetime jobs are no longer available. Industries that we once thought were really strong have been totally rocked by the pandemic. Lockdowns have changed the way that money flows, changed the way that we think, changed the way that we work. In fact, the pandemic and lockdown has actually created a lot of change. Now, for some people, that change will probably be very traumatic, and quite rightly so. There's people out there I know that have lost their livelihoods, they've lost their business. And in this case, because they've not done anything wrong, just due to circumstance. And a lot of people are focusing on probably how bad things are. But you and I both know that where there's adversity, there's also opportunity. And if anything, right now, we've probably got the greatest amount of opportunity open to us that we've had for about 10, 15 years. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say we live in unprecedented times from any measure and from any standpoint of view. And recognizing it's been a painful year for many of us, including, like, if you're an entrepreneur, you own your business, or maybe if you work in the industry or corporation that is going through massive transformation, or maybe if you're just a parent and you had to deal with pandemic and kids at home, like, oh my God, I can just look at my own life. It's been something. But we also need to recognize the unprecedented opportunities for now. And I will give you 4 kind of points around that. So number 1, when society goes through a major transition with the pain, there's also immense opportunities, because industries transforming themselves, some new industries, products, and ideas are happening as we speak. So there is clearly a lot of opportunities. That's number 1. Number 2, employers are open to remote work. So if in the past you were constrained in geography of your profession, now suddenly you're not as much, because a lot of employers are open to remote work. So that was number 2. Number 3, it's never been an easier time to start your own business. So for instance, when I came up with the Career Leap idea, I created a website within an hour. I posted on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And by next day, I had my first 3 students. I have no idea how people started businesses 30 years ago, but now it's that easy to start. I'm not saying it's easy to have it or grow it. So that's number 3. And number 4 is the access to learning. We live at the times where we can go and learn anything. It's just, who had that? I just was following somebody who lives in Philippines, and this woman, wrote about a course in Stanford to her following, right? So right now you can be anywhere in the world. There's a lot of knowledge for free. There is some, courses you need to pay for, but fundamentally there is very little learning barrier right now. So these 4 things suddenly, I would say we live like it's a feast. It's really, you come into this place, or like, oh my God, there's many opportunities. There's so many things that I could be doing. So the real questions are, where to look for these opportunities, how to recognize the right one, and how come you're not like running after them right this moment. These are the three top questions that I would pose to the audience.
And what do you think the answers, people listening in, what answers do you think the majority of people are going to give? What have you found?
So, right. Yeah. So one of the things that I work with my students is mastering dismantling disempowering beliefs. So people have disempowering beliefs about themselves. A lot of people say, well, I might be too old to make a change, or I might not have the right skills and experience, or they will never hire a person like me for whatever reason, because I'm a woman, or because I'm this, or because I had a gap in certain experience. So there is all these kind of noise that exists as humans. We create these beliefs about ourselves and the world. And the truth of the matter is that these beliefs usually have some evidence to them when we believe something. So if I believe I'm too old, then I have some evidence why, maybe it's harder for me to learn now. Maybe I have seen somebody in my age group not getting a job or something like that. But then if we look on dismantling that belief, look at idea that maybe you are not too old. Like, what would you say to yourself in 10 years from now? You will laugh at yourself saying that you're too old. I just, a person who's just signed up into my career program is a 72-year-old surgeon who loves what he does, but he realized that he won't be able, because of his, just physical nature of his job, he might not be able to do it for the rest of his life. So he's exploring his next leap. So there's a tons of evidence why age is not a limit. So then what you do is just dismantle these beliefs, because they never are the full truth. They just concepts that we cling to.
Right. What's the next step from there then? So once you've helped them dismantle, what next?
So the question is, so the two other questions that we talked about. So where do I look for these opportunities, and how do I recognize them? So as humans, we have certain unique qualities and characteristics that
Yeah.
actually are in charge of our experience of meaning and fulfillment, that are in the source of our success, that are part of how we're being motivated. So a lot of my work that I do with people is around how do you know yourself and articulate these ideas about who you are in the way that they serve as a criteria for you to examine different opportunities. So the premise of the career leap method is where you work should be aligned with your career values, and what you do should be aligned with your strengths. Now, where you work is always way more important than what you do. So a lot of people that not happy with what they do, most likely there is a gap with your career values and the industry you're in, or organization that you're working for. So understanding your career values suddenly becomes a great criteria for you to explore different industries, different organization, maybe different new business ideas that you might have, and see whether they are the right direction for you. And thirdly, so now that you know your unique career criteria, then you can actually discover many leaps and pick one leap, right? So then the question becomes, how do you move from where you are now to where you want to go? So the second thing we talked about is dismantling disempowering beliefs. I'm talking about 4 pillars of the career leap method, right? So the first one is your unique career criteria. So you know who you are and where you're heading. The second pillar is about your mastery of dismantling disempowering beliefs. So whatever in your mind is in the way, that you dismantle that. So the third pillar is how we communicate to the world. So I teach people principles of impactful communication. So there are 3 principles there. It's being authentic, being relevant, and being transparent. And I teach how you can use it for any of your communication, whether it's a cover letter, whether it's your resume, whether you're looking for investors for your business,
Right.
or you're looking for a partner for your business or your mentor, there is a way to communicate that actually could produce great response. And the fourth pillar of the career leap method is intentional actions. So we all know how to take actions. People take a lot of actions, but how do we take the actions that are intentional and actually produce the outcomes that we want? So there is a bunch of principles about how you operate inside of that. So if I take the four pillar, knowing who you are and where you're going, dismantling disempowering beliefs, impactful communication, and intentional actions, that will tell you about my mission. And my mission is to fill the world with empowered, impactful humans. Those are the people that know who they are, that live their life and work with alignment with their values. They are empowered to initiate the change. They make the type of difference they know they can and they should. And what's super important for me, they create a great example for their children. So their children grew up and have this example that they can actually contribute to the world and do amazing and reasonable things. So that's basically my game now.
So it's basically a process you've got to go through to make that change. I mean, some people skip the process and they just go for it. But the reality is the majority of people don't do that. I mean, if you take the whole sort of probably last 18 months of the pandemic, there have been so many people that can see the writing on the wall and are just watching the bad TV show. They're just watching the bad stuff happening, knowing that actually the outcome isn't going to be great at the end, but they're waiting to see if things sort of flow back. And a lot of people are paralyzed by fear. Now, if that is the case, how do you what is the first step that you get someone to start considering and start making the change?
Thank you. That's my favorite question, because everything starts with you confronting your career mediocrity. And it could be you are in a corporate setting that, doesn't keep you fulfilled, or maybe you are running your own business, but maybe it's ran out of its juice and it's time to think about what's next. And so you need to be looking at the whole picture. You probably have some humans that depend on you and your paycheck. So you might have a family, you might have children. Like when I was doing my career leap, I had to confront, I have 3 young children. I am a breadwinner in my family, and here I am, I'm taking this on. So you're confronting that. You need to look at, oh my God, I might have some special circumstances in my life where I'm taking care of my parents, or I am moving, or I don't know, whatever it is, or maybe dealing with health issue. You might not know what it is you want to do as the next step, right? And given all of that, you're saying, no, I'm not going to tolerate career mediocrity. I'm going to explore what's next. So this is when everything starts, with you not willing to put up with something that's mediocre. And
Right.
you know when it is.
So let's say someone knows that they've got that voice on their shoulder. They know in the back of their mind that actually change needs to happen. But there are going to be a million and one reasons why it's not the right time, why it's not the right situation, why it's not the right circumstance. But the reality is some change needs to happen. And obviously they need some help in actually overcoming those beliefs and start moving forward. How would somebody get hold of you and say, do you know what, I need some help?
Yeah. So you can find me on misharubin.com, or if you're really ready to go, then you go straight to thecareerleap.com. And that's where you will read about my program. You will find out about me. I'm launching my programs periodically. Those are live programs that go over 3 months. I'm taking people on these amazing journeys, and super inspiring for me, because finally I am doing what's fully aligned with my values, and that makes my life really extraordinary. And I'm about to launch a program for students because I think that's the right time. Actually, when I think you're a senior in high school, that's the best time to start asking yourself right questions. So by the time you end up in college, you have you have a method of how to explore different ideas and opportunities. So we're living in exciting times. It's time to find the next thing.
It is, and I think the first step is to take some form of action. And the reality is, nothing is going to sort of bounce back. As we say, the future ahead of us is really unknown. It's evolving all the time and it's constantly changing. So where people sort of crave that sort of fear and that sort of their security and stability, I don't think that's going to be possible, because I think it's just too many moving parts. And actually, if you're ever going to leap, now is a good time to sort of consider that leap, because everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is in that state of flux. So no one really has that upper hand on anybody else. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. So Misha, has been fantastic. There's some great takeaways for the audience. And I think the first thing is actually not to be paralyzed by fear, but actually take a first step and explore the possibility. Doesn't mean you have to do the possibility, but if you actually start exploring it, that is the first stage. So if you're interested in how to make that change, head over to sort of Misha's website and everything, take a look and explore the possibility. Once again, Misha, thank you very much for today. Really appreciate having you on the episode. And if anything has resonated with you, you want a bit more information, have a discussion around what we discussed, head over to Boolkah.com and get in touch. If you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Please like it and share it with others that could potentially benefit. And most importantly, always remember that failing to learn is learning to fail. Please stay safe and thank you.